welcome to another episode of Wars Going On. I'm Arcturus, and with me as ever is Sebastian Keynes. We're here on the Forerunner server to bring you the latest in what's going on in Watcher of Realms. This is a community-based podcast, so please remember to get involved, to like and subscribe, and to get involved in the comments section and join us on our Discord servers.
Yeah, definitely. Everything helps grow the channel, and of course, also will help grow the podcast in the meantime. So, welcome in, everybody. We have had another update here in Forerunners, and we can definitely discuss where, excuse me, Arturus and I are planning on discussing a little bit of kind of give you a rundown of what we expect for this patch that they have said might be coming in October. We're crossing our fingers, hoping that
Yeah.
Apple's problems finally get resolved. But just to let everybody know, there are essentially three servers you'll hear about within the game. You'll hear about the test server. That's where content creators go and essentially test new heroes or new content in the game. We have here Forerunners, the server that Arturos mentions in the introduction, and essentially is the server where all the beta players were put together and they said, we're going to keep you here in this nice cozy little corner, and one of the benefits will be you guys will get to try out content before it goes into the global server, which was what opened up last September to everybody
July,
around
yeah.
the world. Yeah, July, to everybody around the world. So that is the distinction. Now, the reason that we're getting updates here in Forerunners and in global they're not rolling out is because in Forerunners you can only access the server with Android devices and no, that's essentially it. And emulators, PC emulators. So you cannot use the PC client and you cannot use Apple products to access it. So it's easy for them to roll those patches in here, and for global, then they have to wait for Google and Apple to do the thing before they can go ahead and enact them.
Yeah, it does mean that we sometimes get sometimes a bit pushed to one side in terms of focus because we're a smaller group and recruitment can get really, really difficult because it's an ever shrinking community. And they have just actually allowed a load of additional content creators to come and join us here on the Forerunner server. So you might see more of the other content creators you follow talking about what's going on the Forerunner server.
Yeah, I think even I saw that Dan Heilman might do an F2P series in this server, so we'll see how it goes for him if he can keep up with the second account. But he can definitely start looking at some of the content ahead of time as well as we do here.
Yeah, and as you can see, we've had quite a lot of content here or on the server. You can see in behind me, you can see all the farming 2.0 running away in the background. And the kind of main topic that we're going to talk about today, some of the sort of what we consider to be some of the better things which have been introduced on the Forerunner and will hopefully be coming to you in October.
All right, so before we get there, let's discuss the update here, the most recent one, which essentially was heroes being rebalanced or getting bond skills. Is essentially what's coming about. Or do you want to do the others first? Which the others is essentially for me is the one quest that was finally modified to make it a little bit easier for everybody.
Oh, that was, oh yes, the Oracle. Yeah, sorry, my Oracle's
Yeah,
gone, so I don't think about it anymore. This is a really nice point. I'll just put the text up on the screen behind me. This is basically Oracle 66, where people were getting stuck in that stage because you had to pass you had to be top one in the Oracle trial 3 times, and now they're adjusting it. So they're now making it so you have to finish in the top 2 positions. That's not you have to finish second. I saw someone joking about that the other day. No, it's the top 2. So top what, first position or second position in 3 trials, and that will get you through to the next level of it.
yeah, for my situation, because I was in a sense, I was stuck in it. There was some. I picked my spots essentially to try to win a couple of them, and it was essentially was gear rate 2. Uh, People don't really here in Forerunners care if you push on it, right? So there was one instance. It may have been a couple of instances where I had DM someone and said, "I'm pushing Quest 66. I'm wondering if you could lay off," and they said no, F off, and that's fine. At least I got second. And then when the update rolled out, for me, it then auto completed because when I went and looked at the Odyssey Quest, I was already in 67. So at
Nice.
least that was a benefit. But yeah, I think you'll make it a lot easier. I even said in my video, I would have gone further. I would have made it top 3 because there is really no difference between 1, 2, and 3. You're still ranking high. You are pushing in that content. So
Yeah.
um, I, I'm glad they made it easier. So at least people now don't have to stress out too much about trying to push a Kraken or a whale that is, you know, pushing 30,000 points every time there's an Oracle trial on.
Yeah, I will say that the easiest way to pass that stage is just to back off for a couple of weeks. You basically
Yep.
you just decide, okay, it's Gear Raid 2 this week is the Oracle, so I'm just going to farm Gear Raid 3 or Gear Raid 1, and that way I'm going to get a really low ranking in that Gear Raid. So next time it comes round, they'll put me into an easier bracket because obviously it thinks I'm struggling with that stage, and so I'll be able to push further because I'm up against weaker people. And I've had people saying that they've done that, and they've done it. They've been doing it so long that they're up against people who are like level 14 and they're a level 60 account, and it's just because they've not done the one that they're competing in for so long that the game's just think you must be a complete noob at this, and it's just not letting them, not challenging them at all.
That's a good strategy as well. So yep. So do the best that you can. Pick your spots. You should be able to get into the top 2 now. Um, Fairly simple, depending on how you manage your resources. I think that's the big thing there.
Yeah.
Before we go to the achievement, and you can show everybody what they mean here about the legendary hero crystal. If you want any of the skins, Emirate Trucks, Steel Winds, they're going to be cycling in the shop again. So if you missed a pack, at least you can get them there. If you want to speak Moonton here, Arturos, as to why they mean on improving the buff stacks, I mean, we already
So
have the labeled
yeah,
ones. The ones stats are labeled now clear. I don't know if they mean
yes.
like inspiration ones. It's because
So
sometimes like
let me
where it says,
see if I can get a stage rolling with. Let me get a promotion raid going with um, Lucius in the background, and that will let you see what it means
okay,
by that. Let me just check that Lucius is actually geared, because otherwise that would be embarrassing doing it on stream with an ungeared hero. So yeah, that would have been. Well, that's not too bad. Great, you can have that. Okay, so just quickly dive back. So what happens now, he says, while this is loading, that previously the stacks were present, but you needed the eyesight of an eagle to be able to work out exactly what was going on with the stacks. And now what they've done is they've made it so that when the stack appears over here, the coloration is a little bit clearer when you click on it. Okay, so we should now have a stack. So we've got that one is now clearer than what they've done. I think they've actually put a black outline around the number just to make it a bit easier to read.
yeah, so you can read it
Previously,
better.
Previously, it was really difficult to read. If you're playing on mobile, this is still an absolute pig to try and get it to engage properly. So you'll come over here and you'll try and click on it, and that'll all disappear. If you're playing on an emulator, it's really easy, but the game doesn't think about that at all, and it just punishes you ridiculously. So there we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
just as long as people can see it better, especially on mobile. I'm an emulator player when it comes to the Forerunner account, so I don't rely on mobile devices very often when it comes to playing games. So yeah, if it makes things easier for everybody to see, the better.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
still
you
pretty
want to
tricky
just
to get it to engage if you, as I say, on the mobile. But yeah, once if you can get that list to come up, it's really clear.
okay. So then, if you want to show everybody this new achievement with the dungeons, I like the wording of this because it says clear stage 10 of 2 gear dungeons. So you know there's more coming about.
Yeah, but they are throwing you out an unpolished legendary soulstone for the efforts. So that's good to know, and they're at least recognizing how challenging this is. It's giving me. I've had some luck recently, so it's giving me an encouragement to try and push these stages. Really would like to try and get Gear Dungeon 1 uh, stage 10 finished, because I'm pretty close, and I've now got Artemis, so that should help on that stage.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, Artemis is very good in that stage. Yeah, you should be able to get it. Since we're talking about the unpublished stones, we covered these last week, the difference and where we would invest them, especially in our accounts and what particular heroes we were looking for. Did you want to bring in some of the comments last week from that episode regarding as to
Yeah.
any
So
heroes that people were wondering about?
yeah, there was just generally a view that we'd done pretty well in our Discord channel. We'd had some chat about that they thought it was a good selection of heroes and that we were on point. Someone suggested that we could have considered Zilatu's A3 and any of the Ajax ones. Now, Ajax and Ymeret, they're a special case because they both sit in the Lord buckets in the summons. So they're probably not going to be able to use the unpolished soulstones on those. My luck so far with the unpolished soulstones is still to appear, so I can't tell you if it's actually this is actually true or not. But my personal view is that you probably won't be able to use the unpolished on the dragons as it stands.
Yeah, I do not predict unnameable. No, I don't expect us to be able to do it. We would have to use the legendary soul stones that we know about, the ones
Yeah,
the full ones, the
yeah,
complete ones for the lords. So, but given now that we are removing a pool of heroes from that list, um, I think Emirates A1 does push up a little bit, but if you have Pradius and you can push him from A1 to A3, I mean, it's the reason to save it. So
yeah.
again, all account specific. Do you really want to push Emirate to A1 and then you get a second copy of or a third copy of Pradius? And now you're like, oh, I wish I had a reset book. So kind of ask yourself that question. If this were to happen, would I regret it? So it's kind of the idea. Now the unpolished soulstone, then for what was it, Silatu?
Yeah.
Again, if it helps you progress, sure, you can do that. I was just telling Arturos that to me, Silatu was really hard to push into that top 5 because I feel like she's being power crept. But if you wanna just for some reason push like the Arbor of Frost and try to get Triple S there with her, sure, then you can get it. But right now, like Arturo said, the rates of this thing's dropping. It seems really minuscule. So I'm wondering if the rates are the same as the regular, the normal legendary soulstones. So wait on
Yeah,
that. Let's see how frequent they drop before we make decisions like that. So yeah, that would be my advice.
yeah, I've not had a soul stone outside of the Odyssey in coming up on 7 months now. It's
You're due.
yeah,
Yeah,
I'm due.
definitely.
Absolutely.
All
Okay,
right.
so going
So
back to the patch
let,
notes. So here we are back in the hero section of the patch notes, and we've got a lot going on here. And Hex, that madman who continues to avoid my account, is getting a bond skill. And there's a very good reason why. Do you want to talk a bit about her, Sebastian?
well, I just sent you the picture of her. So
Yeah.
I think that this is circulating around now. The war guides kind of let the cat out of the bag. So it's essentially is the reason that he's getting a bond skill is because there's going to be a new hero added to the game called Twyla. She's a fighter. If I remember correctly, she had a nightmare designation, I believe.
Yes, she is. Yeah.
So she is going to be a fighter. I'm supposed to still be an embargo, so all I'm gonna do is just show the picture of her. We'll talk about skills and all her bond skill and everything once I am given the go ahead. But this is circulating around, so I didn't think it would be a big deal. But that's essentially what she looks like. For those of you that are DC comic fans, there are some variations of Harley Quinn that look like this with the blonde hair. So they
Yeah.
definitely took inspiration from that. And if you have not seen her animation, I was like telling Arturos, I don't know why they made her animation be like the one that I shared with Arturos, but yeah, it's funny as hell. And I was telling, it's like, why would they have her fart rainbows? But that's essentially what it looks like she's doing. But that's the reason why Hex is getting the bond skill, and it will kind of really match up. I can tell you with Twyla's, and those two are going to be a good combination for boss battles here coming up.
Yeah, and so to actually explain what this skill is that when the fate is triggered, so that's when he puts his stealth shield up and hides. He's also going to
Mhm.
gain an additional shield equal to 40% of his attack for 10 seconds. One of the things that he's still susceptible to is AoE attack. So if you can get a bomb to go off near him, even when he's stealth, you'll take him out. So this is going to help him in that situation. So he's going to be able to be stealth. He's going to be shielded. So he's going to be extra protection while he's getting ready to do his next big attack on somebody. And the other nice thing about this bond skill is that if you've timed your deployments right, Twyla will go out first, and then Hex is reduced by 2. Hex is an incredibly powerful marksman. To deploy him for 10, fantastic.
Yep, and that's going to be one of the benefits. But yeah, but there is the condition. You have to put Twilight in first. So you have to plan ahead. Put Twilight in first, and then Hex comes right behind her.
Next up is Talula, and we talked about Talula when Sebastian very kindly let us go on the test server, and I said at the time I'm really worried about those butterflies and how they're going to go, and you could end up with some of your guys not being in her shields, in the butterfly effect during the ultimate, and that could be really problematic. The devs have obviously had that from a couple of other people, and they've taken that on board, and now they said they've improved the target selection logic. So I think they're going to make it so the butterflies try to space out a bit better rather than potentially all clustering up. So that's really good that they're taking that feedback and they're looking at how people are using her. And yeah, it's good that we're getting more ways of dealing with Semra.
Right. It's just that when I haven't released my guide on her yet because I was really waiting more as we get closer to the global release of her. The one thing that I was noticing though is that the butterfly sometimes would not go to the hero that needed it the most. That was one of the things, and so it was I was just wondering why they didn't scatter out a little bit more or go to the hero that needed that boost in healing or in everything else that goes with having the butterfly on you. And so that's essentially what he meant. So those of you that have seen showcases on her, and if you heard some reference to the butterflies just for some reason not going where you wanted them to go, that's what they were trying to fix here. Eh, I have yet to test it to see if that is the case. I don't have her here in Forerunners yet, so I can't just quickly do a plug and play and try to do it. So I have to log in the test server and see if that indeed has improved.
Okay, and next up, everyone's least favorite chaotic unit, the vampire who doesn't know how to be a vampire. Gisele is getting a long awaited buff. And they start off by saying, okay, we get that everyone hates her, so we've thought about how she's supposed to be used. They've added a bond skill to make her more effective, and they're saying, look, she's really designed for this one stage of PvP single target DPS.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
no,
nice.
it's okay. So number one, the whole HP thing was a downside to her, right? Because once you got the enemy to 60%, you're losing damage. She
Yeah,
already struggled in the damage, so they said, okay, we'll decrease that by 10. Whether that's going to be enough, we'll find out. But the bond skill, I think, is the slight improvement.
yeah,
But again, we need Selene. So if she does come to the global server in the form of, I imagine it'll be the shard summoning event, because that's what it was here in Forerunners,
yeah,
that you make sure to get her if you have Gisele.
yeah. And so just to go over that bond skill. So once you get Selene, who we'll talk about in a minute, and we'll pull her up on screen. You get to reduce Gisele's first deployment cost by 2. I think her deployment cost is nine to start with, so she's pretty cheap on that in deployment anyway, in a single target arena. And then increases her damage by 20% for 60 seconds. So on top of her bonus damage of 20% that you're getting for targeting a hero with more than 50%, she's then doing an extra bonus 20% damage. She'll also be able to fully restore her rage if she manages to kill that enemy off uh,
If she
when she's deployed.
contributes, if she
Yeah,
helps eliminate. So I think she
yeah,
has just to contribute. And then if she does any form of damage that leads to his death, the way that I'm reading it, then she'll get the rage boost right away to on that. So what I was thinking is you can either use her and deploy her right away and clear the first couple of waves for the first like 60 seconds,
yeah,
and then you take her out and then you bring somebody else that can help clean up the rest of the battle. But that's essentially it. That's the way that I see it. Or you bring other heroes in, and then to close things out, you bring her in, rush through the last couple of rounds, and then clean up with her, with the last 60 seconds, because she has the 40% boost.
yeah,
So there'll be ways, I guess, that they're trying to make her usable in the arena, especially with the honors gauntlet now opening up, just to give you a little bit more variety in terms of forming teams as well. So, you know, is it a big buff? We shall see.
yeah.
It depends on that bond skill. How much benefit do we get by getting her a 40% damage boost?
Yeah. I mean, a vampire who doesn't know how to increase her health by sucking blood is still not a very good vampire, in my
Yeah.
opinion. But
Mhm.
she's got this bloodbane thing, which is a unique uh, mechanic where she sacrifices some health to do. So she loses 15% health to do 100%, 20% AoE damage on her attack on her enemies. She's pretty speedy from memory. Uh, she gets this extra attack speed. So she does, the more speed you put on her, the more crit damage she does. So all you've got to do is get her over that defense threshold, and she'll start doing quite a lot of extra damage, because that's extra damage over the base speed. So if you put a fair amount of speed on her, say 250 to 300%, then you're going to be getting a good chunk of that on top of your crit damage that you're already building into a kit like that. It's not, you don't have to build her like you would a specialized attack speed hero where it's all about speed. You can build her, you've got a bit more flexibility, but currently 12 cost unbonded, 10 cost bonded. She does 15% bonus damage in arena. Her stats from memory, yeah, she's weaker than Salazar. She's going to be weaker than Valeria, who's who's around 12 to deploy in no, yeah, sorry, 13 to deploy in arena, and her attack is 6172. So she's weaker than Valeria. On paper, I'd have to work out what 15% bonus damage is. But yeah, she's not Valeria. That's
No,
what it
right.
comes down to.
I'll take Valeria over Giselle any day. And like you said, that life steal mechanic, it's one of the attributes that I think she needs to really be able to get some type of a boost to make sure that she can survive on her own as well. Yeah,
I,
I
I
don't know why
think,
they try to hold back on her, being that she is
yeah,
a chaotic, she's a nightmare hero. And the other thing, if I remember correctly, she doesn't have any debuffs or anything that she can contribute to the battle, right?
just this bloodbane thing. Um,
Yeah, that doesn't. I don't think that does anything at all.
yeah, I mean, it's just this 120% stacks explosion for 3. Now, if they said if she kills an enemy, when she kills an enemy, she regains 10% HP, then that gives her at least a bit more longevity, because some of those single target units do hit pretty hard, and she's going to be
Mhm.
the front and center early deployment while you're
Yeah,
building up your other chaotic units behind her. So she needs something. She needs some survivability, and she's got none of it, even in her ultimate. Yeah,
it is almost like they're daring us to put her in a temper wield or a guardian set with damage stats. That's essentially what it comes down to. It's like you can't. You have to build some survivability on her. Or she's not going to last. So that's what I was
yeah.
telling you. Maybe with
Ah,
the
no,
first
no,
couple of
it's
waves,
that forged.
classic
It's the
arena.
forged defender set, the unwavering will that gives you health after so many after 5 attacks or something. If you put her in that,
Yeah, maybe that. I don't know. We'll see.
but you can't get the
We'll see.
substats on that. It rarely rolls attack stats because I've looked for a couple of them because I'm that sort of idiot. But yeah, every single piece I've forged of that has been very, very tanky, and it's almost impossible to get crit rate on it.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
back to the point. Back to Selene. We got a little sidetracked. It's fine.
Sister. Let's go to her sister because her
Yeah.
sister is, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here with her sister, especially how they changed her kit.
First of all, a warrior who knows how to wear armor.
Exactly. She's a little bit more protected than all the other ones that have come about. Yes.
Yeah. So there we go. So she's a two-tile attack fighter. Nothing particularly exciting there. But let's bring up the talent because the talent is important. So she's got this thing called Throbbing Wound, which inflicts a mark on the enemy every time she deals damage. And that, when it's got 4 marks on them, she deals 100% damage twice to the enemy. Okay. Remember the Throbbing Wound and the marks because they dominate her entire kit.
That's everything about it. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So her ultimate, she does this thing called a swish. So she deals damage to the enemies 6 times, dealing between 100 and 120% on the first 4 strikes. Sorry, I'm remembering her old kit, and does 160% damage on her last 2 strikes. So nothing particularly exciting. You had some ideas about how the talent might work in that, because I think these all count as basic
So,
attacks.
okay, so you have there the new kit, right? That's what
Yeah,
that's what it's showing now. So what I was saying was that everything is about the mark. So the frequency as to how often she hits then puts on a stack. And so once those stacks trigger, then you get the damage that you get out of her. One of the
yeah,
things that I was trying to understand is how does 200% damage to the enemy at once differ from 100% 2 times, unless each damage that each point that she does on the damage means adding a mark. So that is one of the things that I postulated on. The other thing then with changing her other parts of the kit, especially when it comes to her
Lunge has
probably
changed as well. Yeah,
slush, yeah, the swish as well.
yeah,
So it was from 3, now we went to 6. So essentially what I'm thinking is that what they were trying to do is get her to put on the marks more often so that 2 times to 100 triggers more frequently. And if you time that well with your ultimate, now you're going to get a bigger burst out of it. Then you're getting now before it was 240, 240, 320. Now if it's fully skilled, it's 120, 120, 120, 120, 160, 160. And as I predicted, they changed the wording of her ultimate from being the first 2 hits to the first 4 hits.
yeah.
So you get the advantage from leveling her skills on 2 and 3. Now the first 4 hits are gonna get extra damage if that's where you're gonna go. That's essentially what I'm thinking, is that they're trying to make sure that those marks get added quicker so you can get the benefit from the talent to come about more frequently.
Yeah, and just on that note, I don't have it on here at the moment, but I'll put it on screen during editing. Her artifact reduces the required number of throbbing marks from 4 to 3. So that's going to make a
Right.
big difference here. So effectively, you would trigger throbbing wound twice during her ultimate if you had her artifact. So that's an extra 400% damage, extra 4 hits, 400% damage during her ultimate, which actually suddenly goes from being 800% to 1200% damage during her ultimate. So that's actually a surprising amount of magic damage being applied in one burst.
Yeah, and then her basic attack also was changed,
Yes,
or her
so they
lunge.
lunge. So lunge used to just apply one hit to an enemy. Um, she now does bonus damage to the enemies surrounding it and inflicts stacks of marks on them.
Yeah,
And the
so she had,
final,
yeah, that's the big thing. Again,
yeah,
it's all about the marks. Just add the marks as much as you can. And she got a little bit of a boost on the damage there as well, as 50%. Previously it was 180 to the enemies in her range. Now it's
mm,
230 to the target. Everybody else gets the marks.
yeah, and now we've been talking about sort of like the marks, the marks, and this is why the marks are important, because the marks are basically the Lady Alexander of the ground-based fighters. If you have been marked by Selene, she can hit you anywhere on the map, as long as her talent is sorry, as long as startling riposte is triggering, she can hit you,
Right.
and she does
Yep.
bonus damage depending on how much you've done. So yeah, really clever.
So this again, it all comes down to her multiplier. We'll have to test it. I mean, most of you in Forerunners here have her because she was a fusion, and and it probably be a lot better if you have her bonded. So
Yeah,
I imagine that she should do the theoretically the prediction here is that she should do more damage than she has been doing. So the
yeah,
arena people will have to tell us for sure if that is the case with her. But if I'm thinking that this will definitely increase her viability in terms of PBE or maybe even arena, that she will come into play a little bit more. Uh, and
yeah.
now you can actually bring in the esotericists a little bit more into the fold as well, if you wanted to.
Indeed. So just to pick up on her bond skill, and we'll go through her awakenings as well. So if you've got Gisele, then you're going to her ultimate will inflict magic 30% magic vulnerability on the target, which
Right.
is
So
pretty substantial for a magic fighter who's got similar stats to Zillitu. It's slightly lower.
so you get that first hit, right? Theoretically, she should apply the vulnerability, and then the next
Yeah,
5 get it with the vulnerability. So
exactly.
yeah, I'll see an extra damage from everything coming into her kit now. So hopefully she is more viable. She should hit
Yeah.
harder.
Yeah, especially when you start rolling in the A3 and it's like, oh, no, I'm making you vulnerable to it. I'm ignoring 30% of your damage. So
Yeah, yeah, they changed it from 15 to 20% or to 30%. So that's
yeah,
one. And her A5 also changed. So
they
previously
did.
was two that he hit two more targets, her ultimate.
Yeah.
Now she's just dealing extra damage
Yeah, that's an
three
extra
times.
450% damage into that skill. So her base is 800%. This is then going to push it up to 450, so an extra 450. That's 1,250. If you then start throwing in the fact that her talent's going to be triggering, if that, so that's twice without her artifact, so that's another 400% damage on top, so that's 1,850. And if you then start throwing in her artifact in, well, you've got another procking of her talent in there as well. So there is potential for her to do a lot of big single target damage, and she's quite tanky
Surprised
as well.
Yeah, and I'm surprised it took this long to change it, especially come up with the bond skill with Gisele. But maybe, they did it because they did it now because she's going to be climbing to global soon. So they thought this would be a perfect time to change the hero, make
Yeah.
her a little bit more viable so people didn't complain too much. I wish that Ma would have gotten the same treatment, but he did not. But yeah, I I missed her and the first time that she was here because I had a young account, so it was
Yeah.
really hard for me to push for the fragments. But yeah, I mean, you have her, so you should be able to eventually.
Yeah,
Uh,
I have her A1. I'm relatively. She gets a bad rap mostly because she's not Zilla 2, in terms of being a fighter. But I kind of like her. I like the character design. She's wearing armor. She's got this wicked looking sword, and that cape is just to die for. Um, yeah, I think this ability to dive around the map and hit people is great fun. But she's kind of a
well, one of her
weird. She basically you didn't really in her old form. She was never really strong enough to take anybody on,
right.
but now maybe because she's got this burst damage potential. She'll be able to be more useful, but she is still slightly hampered by the 2 tile attack range. But all of her kit is playing up to the fact she's got this rapier. She's doing lots of short, fast hits with it. So you're not going to see big multipliers off the individual weapons, but she does have. She's applying these marks. She's zipping around, slashing people wherever she's applied a mark. Yeah, and I'm hoping that she'll be more viable. But I think she's one of these. You need to have her A3, A5 for her to really shine. And if you've got her artifact as well, then yeah, that's where she's really going to come to life.
I mean, hopefully you don't have to wait too long to get her A3, A5, right? Because you would have to wait for fusions to come about. You would have to put her in the pool if you
Yeah,
wanted to make her
talking of
that.
heroes in the pool, I've spotted this weekend that both Helga and oh, not in this pool, in the main pool. Sorry. I spotted both Helga and Crodor appearing in the summon pool on a 2x
Oh,
banner.
I missed that. Okay, so we do think then Selene should probably end up here as well then.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I see him now. Helga and Crow. This is for my Helga. This is good. I really want to push Helga's awakening, so I'm not disappointed in that. I will take extra copies of Helga. I'm not
Oh,
complaining about that.
definitely. I went all in when Helga was coming, and I like saved up my skill crystals and everything. As soon as I got her fused, I went full skill crystals in, fully maxed, fully ready to go. Poor Lord of Sticks didn't know what happened to him that first week. But yeah, he was. I was fully up for her when I first saw her kit. So yeah, really happy to have more copies of her coming.
So just to close out a little something on Selene is I think that one of the things that was hurting her was her faction, right? So that's
Yeah,
one. And then when you were talking about defenders in this faction, there were many of them, but then eventually Trust came in
Yeah.
and then Cyrus came in, right? So now there's
Yeah.
something that you can use to protect her. And so, if you have Cyrus, you get the additional rage that he provides. You're gonna get to her ultimate quicker. She should be doing a little bit more damage because you are getting there more quicker. So all those little things help a little bit.
Yeah.
So I yeah, I think as the game grows and the esotericists expand even more, then she might even benefit further from this buff. So
Definitely.
I I am reserving complete judgment on her, but initial looks is that yes, she did get a very good buff.
Definitely. Okay. Hydra. It's a beautiful skill. Is it worth $40? That's between you and your bank manager. The Trusk one is there. They've introduced the Salazar one to Forerunners. I'm still debating whether like $28 is how much I want to pay for a skin in a game. And what 12 summon stones and 2 divines. I think it's a little on the pricey side for what it is, but I like the skin. I've come around to it now. You've convinced me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Salazar one.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen. I don't mind being in the minority. I just, for some reason, just like that rocker look that he adds to him. It's
Yeah.
completely against what a lizard would be, but it's just I don't know. I found it intriguing, so I got it for my global account, not here on Forerunners. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Definitely.
I thought, hey, it's cute enough, and there were some rare crystals with it, so why not? So.
Yeah.
Uh, it it did get a lot of players just like, no, I don't know what they were thinking with that one, but I don't mind it. I definitely don't mind it.
Okay, that was it for the patch notes. We have kind of talked around a lot of other subjects. So next up was the Honor Gauntlet, just a fact that the devs have both been searching for feedback, both from content creators and in game. They put out a survey asking for feedback. So they're clearly trying to get more input about how it's working, what players are liking, what players aren't liking. I do think that there is an opportunity here for us to say we like X, but we don't like Y. And one thing I'm going to suggest that they should do is introduce the environmental mechanics that are in Honor Gauntlet into the main arena. And I think people would like it more. Unless, of course, you're running a chaotic team in single target, in which case you're going to hate me for that suggestion. Um, but
You're
yeah,
just gonna
that
give extra work for Carnelian to do. But the one of the things that I emphasize, or I'm gonna emphasize in my final snippet that I'm gonna send them, is that why wasn't this considered for regular arena? Fix that first before you introduced it here. And it just goes to the whole we're fine with what our classic arena is. We don't mind that people spawn or place units right at the spawn point and let that be a race. I think that they are settled with that and it's disappointing. And like you said, if they introduce that, that mechanic where you're losing HP after so many rounds just to speed things along,
yeah,
that would just make it so much better. The only contention, the only little minor thing, or could you call it minor? The only thing that I warned them about was the stun mechanic. It is, it is overpowered. You can really wreck teams. Um, Single target arenas where I like to use it because one of the things that happens when you stun is units can get by you.
mm,
So 3 seconds is long for this game. 3 seconds is a long time. So I would say maybe list a minor tweak there. I don't know if I would say you can only use it once per battle or if you decrease the time, but that's going to be a popular one to use if they introduce it in the mode
yeah,
as it is. They introduce the mode here as it is in the global server. Uh, Again, single target. It's going to be chaotic units are probably going to be prefer. There is the one where you lose HP,
yeah,
you sap the units. right? So you would have to bring in a healer. So that one, I think it's okay. I know that other players like to use it for other modes, so that one is okay as it is. The sleep one, at first I was like, this seems minor. It's not going to be one that is going to be chosen. I think if you use it correctly, especially in AOE arenas, where you could use it if you wanted to, because
Yeah,
the enemies don't explode unless you're doing damage to them. So if you use it right before they come out, maybe that would be one strategy to you, because then nobody's doing anything, right? But I think
yeah,
that they should add something on top of it to be comparable to the stun one, where maybe you do not gain rage, or you do not, something just to make it as comparable as to not having the ability to block a unit. That's big.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, so just I think that in that regard, yeah. But it's still the same. I mean, it feels the same. I mean, the map's a little bit different. The enemies hit harder, so they're actually targeting you. They're doing damage to you. So if you don't compensate for that, or you try to put things at the front too early, you're gonna get sniped. That's fine. That's the stuff that should come to Classic Arena. But
Yeah, I mean the on spawn invulnerability and the the unspawn invisibility, which are in the AOE and the aerial arenas, I think would make the game a lot better. It would make people feel better about the Ingrid spawn camping, and yeah,
yep.
I say this as an Ingrid player. That yeah, it's a definitely would make a big difference to the game.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, if you have her use it, everybody else is. It's just the mechanic of it, that allows it, right? So
Yeah,
they tried to increase the HP, defense, and magic resistance of the units, but I think in the end, it's actually hurting the players below that don't have the gear,
yeah,
and don't have the proper heroes. I think it hurt them a little bit more than what the developers were expecting, based on some of the
yeah.
comments that I'm seeing. So.
Yeah, I think it's one of those unintended consequences, and I said that when they first introduced it. It's like you're buffing heroes here, sorry, you're buffing enemies here, but what's the actually to try and stop people at this level? But what's actually happening is here, so you almost need it like a threshold. It kicks in
Right.
at this level, or even if you have it as a you scale, it goes increases by 1% per level of the arena. So gold one is plus 1%, plat two is 3%, something like that. So that by the time you get
Yeah.
into Overlord and Apex Overlord, you are making sure that the stronger accounts are pushing up into those things because they've got the gear, they've got the heroes. Um, yeah,
All right. So let's go to the last topic of the day. Let's just go, because they did say there's possible an update coming in October. Now, I love the
yeah.
little language, how they phrase that sentence. It's like, we're hoping, we're hoping, we're optimistic. We
I think
won't
this is
promise it.
we've taken on board all of the feedback that they complained about our last one. We packaged it
Yeah,
up. We have
exactly.
submitted it to Apple. It is in Apple's
Yep.
hands, and I think that's very much where they are with it. So they've done everything they can. They pushed it out, and now it's just waiting on the review to see if it comes out.
Okay, so I have the ones that I'm looking forward to. So, but I'm gonna let you go ahead and get started with your top pick and see if it matches mine.
I know it's really boring, but I actually think that the farming is a really nice free to play mechanic for getting resources. So look, this thing is in my thing. I'm getting diamonds, I'm getting energy, I'm getting experience, I'm getting mithril,
Mhm.
which is really nice. I've got access to free energy on on the campfire. At the moment, I've got something like 900 energy ready to go as soon as I deploy it. So uh, yeah, so I could forge 22 of those, 22 by 60. So I've got like a decent amount of energy saved up that I can deploy if I decide to push an oracle because someone's on my toes. I can make gold, I can gold tokens, experience tokens, and I've got this opportunity to get these things, which are free summon stones, including ancients. So yeah,
Right.
what's not to like about this?
No, I really like the new format of this. And one of the things that I was going to be suspicious about, or that I was waiting to collect enough data to see how good it was the trading hall, right? Because there you need your ingredients. But one of the things that I found is after 2 weeks, because if you send the sailboat often enough during the week to
Yeah,
get ingredients, you're going to accumulate those eventually. And eventually you're going to have a surplus enough where every time now that this resets, the trading hold resets on the Monday, I can wipe it out in 8 clicks. I don't have to
yeah,
wait for to go get ingredients now after it's been here open for a month. So that will be a big benefit because right away you can grab. I think in some of my RNGs, either I get 2 rare crystals or 3, depending on the RNG, how it rolls,
mm,
right? Whether it's a
yeah,
gold recipe, a purple recipe, and I've gotten a lot of shards for ancient
yeah.
crystals there.
Ancient fragments, skill crystal fragments. That was quite a good one. That one. So it's ancient
Yep.
crystal fragments and skill crystal fragments. But yeah, it's free energy. There's another skill ancient fragment there. Obviously, you're going to be getting uh, the psychic powers, but psychic powers have their place if you're deciding to do the skill up challenge, the hero training one. Because if you have loads of
Yep.
heroes sat at 5 star and you have a load of these things, psychic powers in your storage, and they take up no hero storage space, in the last 10 minutes or so, you can just start 5 starring, or sorry, 6 starring all of these heroes, and it's 300 points a go, and your opponents just can't keep up because it's such a big jump. So it's a real good way of ruining someone's Oracle's trial.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't have anything else to say about the camp. I'm glad that they got rid of the mill, the farmland. I like the mine. It's just
Yeah,
I'm calculating that we're getting about, I would say, 300 mithril if you're faithful a week is the optimal that you can get. So that's a good chunk of mithril. And yeah, aside from that, it's fine the way the way that it is.
yeah. I mean, there's lots of other good stuff. I mean, I'll let you go next, and I might dive in with another one.
Okay. Well, the one of everything that has been introduced, the one that I like the most because it has completely changed the end game farming of this. For me, is AMR. AMR stages 19 to 22. That's the big thing. It just completely changes how now if you're able to even farm 19 and 20, it just completely now changes the mithril economy. You're no longer farming purples. Uh, if your RNG is bad enough to get a lot of yellow, it is what it is. But at least you're getting a lot of mithril back from that.
Yeah,
And now you have to worry about Titan and Wisdom meteorites. And if you were a player that was struggling getting tier of Twilights from stage 18, my luck turned around with tier of Twilights by farming 22. And now I have 2.5 in the 3 or 4 weeks that we've been able to farm this. So it could
yeah,
just in an instant, it just changed how accessible those mythic artifacts became, especially how they now put them in their own little pools. And, it just
yeah,
sped up everything else that we need to do. So I think that this is if there's something else coming down the pipeline where we're gonna need more power, this definitely will help get your artifact settled. And then with the Titan, it's like Wailing Skull. More Wailing Skulls have been rolling into my account. More all I keep calling them Oleg's Wall. Bastion rings are coming in.
yeah.
So it just completely changed how artifact farming is now in the game.
Yeah, definitely. It's made a real difference. It's uh, it definitely makes. I don't do it enough, I think is the honest answer. But yeah, it's a challenge, and it's a good challenge. It's definitely a let's see what my account can do stage, and that's kind of what you want.
Yeah, I think in one of my GR2 Oracle trials, I said, I'm going to tank this one. I'm just going to go to Artifact Material. And that's where I pushed the 21, 22. And, I was like, and then I took the opportunity to save enough meteorites to do the quest after 66. It just played out perfectly. So, and I got in that 4,000, I got 5 exclusives. Even though 2 of them were the epics, I hit 5 exclusives. So if you get GUR RNG on your forging, you're also going to get the exclusives on top of that. So
It's
you're going to
worth
benefit.
saying you can get the bad RNG of 10 gold,
Oh
which
yeah,
has happened to
yeah,
me, and that sucks.
that too. Yeah, I've gotten that as well. So I'm not gonna say that you're gonna get 5 out of 4,000 every time, but when you hit, you're gonna be able to hit. So
Yeah,
yeah, you're gonna get more exclusives as well. So, and then you never know how the gleaming meteorite economy is gonna change in the future. So the sky's the limit right now.
absolutely. I mean, there's definitely more coming in different sources. We're cropping up all over the place now, and yeah, I've normally holding on to. I think it's about easily 400 a week, maybe 4 to 500 a week. So it's doable.
Okay, what do you have another one?
Uh,
Because the only other one, I'll let you go. I'll let you go and see if
No, I was going to
we.
say AMR was another feature. The other was just tidying up the camp in some way, so that we've obviously now got the war room. If I can just
Hmm?
navigate over to that. Oh, go away. When the your emulator starts lagging on you. Right, come on, home. Okay, so the war room is another feature because obviously now things like the tide and is tucked away in here, the Titanic ruins and the guild boss. Okay, the guild boss used to be in the raids page, but the void rift is no longer on the front page, and the epilogue is no longer on the front page, and the Drake's Chasm and Titanic ruins have been pulled out of the rage pages and put into here. It's just all a bit tidier. It's something different to look at. I do like how they've got the Demonic Crusade here, and they have kind of suggested that there's more stuff coming. So it's very much a potential for more stuff in the pipeline. I mean, coming soon. It's been coming soon for a while now, but it's a nice area to
Yeah.
play. And the
Uh,
challenge stages were fun. And remember to vote for me in the Creators Challenge. Get my votes in for the GVG traps because it's one of the better ideas out there. Not that
yeah,
I'm
I'm surprised
biased.
but there were other ones. Yeah, I still have to find the time to go over all the ones that were selected. The other things that I have here is the Lucius Semra interaction. I think that's going to be big when it
Yeah.
finally gets applied. And uh, what else was I looking at here that I said my.
While you're thinking, I am going to tell people a good tip if you've got Magda in your team is rather than running a defender, run a very tanky Magda because she is fantastic for applying buffs to your team. 15% penetration, 20% damage increase, and you can stick inspiration on top of that. It's absolute chaos. I managed to get over 80. I'm very happy because I managed to get over 80k this week and just under 100k. So putting her into my squad was definitely a big move. So yeah,
Yeah,
if
I
you've got
saw a
it, use
couple
her.
of you. I saw a couple of you talking about that in the Discord as to making her tanky to be able to make sure that she could take the slams. And yeah, I've Magna was one of my early picks as heroes to watch out for that content because of that her coverage area when it comes
Yeah.
to buffing. And I never I I thought of her using her as a DPS, but I never really thought about her using it as a tank per
Well,
se.
she's
To
her defense is nearly as high as Azor's. So I mean, you can build her as a defender if you want to.
Okay, all right, and I don't know if it's too early for global, but the other thing that people are excited about is the exclusive gear, and that's probably the other one that I have here.
Yeah.
It's whether they're going to apply this in the October patch and just let everybody get slammed with everything at the same time.
I think they are. The way I read the announcement was very much a case of there's all this exciting stuff that we really want to push out, and it's a big update. So to
Yeah,
me, it was like we're not going to drip feed this. It's too much hassle to get it through code review. We're just going to dump everything and let you have it all in one go to bring you up to speed. Because I think for them, it's a real headache trying to maintain servers that are so far apart that they want to try and keep Forerunners and global as close together as they can. Now, whether that's a good idea or whether they should be making test the Forerunners as more of a practice environment, yes, we tend to get things in a drip feed fashion over the month, which then get bundled up and submitted to into a single patch for global is another point. So
yeah. So hopefully, like you told me, you still think Toraldor's exclusive gear is bugged. So hopefully they kind of
yeah,
pick on. I know they're on vacation right now, but hopefully they pick on those suggestions that were given them and fix it before they roll it into global. So I hope that this Apple thing doesn't really force them to push stuff that is not optimized yet. But I don't mind if everything is working as intended. I don't mind just dumping everything on everybody and slowly let them figure it out and try to, incorporate that into their gameplay as it goes. Because what are some of the things that we're telling people in global right now? Is like save your fabric, right? Don't
yeah,
forge that. Save it for when the exclusive gear comes about. You don't really need to push AMR 18 unless you're advancing, but don't push too hard. Don't try to go, put like 25,000, 30,000 points every time because we have the new AMR stages. So just little things like that. I think that those two things are coming in. The other one that I think that people are really more excited about and that what they really want is the lock gear in Guild Wars. So once we
yeah,
set our defense, the gear is locked. But the big question mark here is whether is one going to be applied to Classic Arena as well, because we saw the notification or we saw the little sentence there on the patch notes that they deleted that it said Arena gear lock, and then you were wondering, well, where's the one in Forerunners? So
yeah.
there's that question that we had: is that coming or not? But that's the only other thing. That's the additional thing that I can think about is the gear lock feature that I think people are really been waiting for now a while.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely something that I would like because it does mean that I end up having to, I do end up worrying about like pushing other areas of the game because I'm trying to hold my position in arena. So it's like, okay, well, how can I compromise the team that I know works in order to push this stage, so to push this content, but not hamper my arena team. But yeah, there's good and bad to it. But because they
And
want
then,
us out farming, doing more stuff and getting more gear, but also we've got a large gear cap than global. So yeah,
then those that like to collect heroes, you got Numera, you got Cena, Beelzebub. Who else am I missing?
Darius, there's
Talula.
Talula, we know that there's Kigiri coming, we know that Twyla is coming. So there's a lot of going here. Eliza as well, who's a new is Eliza out on global? I forget.
Yeah, Eliza's out.
Yeah,
The one that is not out because I'm waiting for the grind to start as soon as they put her up will be Lady Alexandra with the Apex shop. As soon if that comes in, you're gonna see Arena pick up definitely, especially Classic Arena, and then Saris coming in. It'll just change AOE again,
yeah,
especially how nasty he is at the beginning. So yeah, so those are kind of the things that I'm expecting that are going to be the big changing aspect of this patch if they indeed put everything in and just roll it all out, which is going to be a significant patch. So if everybody is on mobile, make sure that you are on Wi-Fi before you update the game.
Yeah, it's going to be a couple of gigabytes, I'm sure.
No, yeah, no question about it.
Okay, and that's really it for today. We've talked for long enough about lots of things. We've gone into detail about Selene and how she could be a good hero if we're given the opportunity to get more stacks of her, and what we think is good in the game. So do please remember to like, comment, subscribe, share it with people, and write comments down below. So keep tuning in. I'm Octurus, that's Sebastian. This is what's going on.
All right, see you all next week.